Vivian Alamane's return to Days of Our Lives is not treated as a casual comeback, but as a calculated reentry into Salem at a moment of maximum vulnerability. Vivian has always thrived on disruption, and her timing immediately raises suspicion because it coincides perfectly with Dimitri von Luskner's sudden disappearance. The show makes it clear that this is not a coincidence. Vivian arrives with her familiar air of control and confidence, as if she already knows more than she's letting on, which instantly puts everyone on edge. Dimitri's disappearance is portrayed as deeply troubling. He doesn't simply leave town or go off the radar by choice. Instead, his absence feels abrupt and unnatural. Calls go unanswered, plans are missed, and there's no explanation that makes sense. Those who know Dimitri best begin to fear that something happened to him, especially as time passes with no contact. The lack of information turns concern into panic, and the mystery quickly becomes one of Salem's biggest unanswered questions. Vivian's involvement becomes more likely the longer Dimitri remains missing. Vivian has a long history of removing obstacles when they no longer serve a purpose, and Dimitri could easily fall into that category. He may know damaging information, be connected to a plan that went wrong, or simply represent a loose end Vivian once tied up. At the same time, Vivian is known for keeping people alive when they're more useful under her control than gone entirely. This opens the possibility that Dimitri is being held somewhere, silenced, or manipulated into cooperation rather than outright eliminated. The tension increases as Salem residents start comparing notes and realizing the timeline doesn't add up. Vivian deflects suspicion with practiced ease, offering vague explanations and acting offended by any suggestion she could be involved. However, her behavior tells a different story. She appears unusually composed for someone walking into a crisis, suggesting she's either orchestrating events or at least fully aware of what's happening behind the scenes. Dimitri's disappearance also creates emotional and strategic fallout. His absence leaves a vacuum that affects multiple relationships and power structures in Salem. People who relied on him for information, support, or leverage are suddenly exposed, and old rivalries begin to resurface. Vivian's return exploits this instability perfectly, allowing her to position herself as either a solution or a savior, depending on what benefits her most. As the storyline develops, it becomes clear that Dimitri's disappearance is part of a larger arc rather than a short-term mystery. Vivian's return signals that secrets buried in the past are about to resurface, and someone's loyalty is going to be tested to its breaking point. Whether Dimitri is being held against his will, forced into silence, or deliberately erased from the narrative for strategic reasons remains unknown, but the consequences of his disappearance will ripple through Salem for weeks to come. Ultimately, Vivian's presence guarantees chaos. She doesn't return without a purpose, and Dimitri's disappearance is the first sign that her latest scheme is already in motion. Salem is once again at the mercy of one of its most dangerous manipulators, and whatever fate Dimitri is facing, it's clear that Vivian holds the upper hand, at least for now.